Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marisol Flores from the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, known as the IHCC. Welcome to Procurement Talk Episode 2, our Webversation Series, Create Your Own Opportunity, brought to you by the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in collaboration with ITTAP Chicago. I would also like to thank our three vital and important government contracting programs housed at IHCC, along with their directors, are Angie Alonso from the Illinois Procurement Technical Assistance Center, Jacob Perez from the Illinois Small Business Transportation Resource Center, and Dana Harder from the Illinois Tollway Technical Assistance Program. Just a few housekeeping. Everyone is muted upon entry. We will be recording the webinar for your reference at any time, and we'll be sending it to everybody after the presentation. And then please use the chat box for any of your questions. I would like to now hand it over to Dana Harder, our Procurement Collaborations Contractors Advocate, and also would like to welcome David Rambhajan, President of Industria Construction Services. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Dana, the platform is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Marisol, and thank you for joining us today. We know there are many webinar opportunities, and we're so grateful that you chose to spend the afternoon with us. Thank you also to the participants who shared preliminary questions when you signed up for the event. If we can't get to all of your questions today, please feel free to reach out to any of the presenters and we'll address your inquiry as soon as we possibly can. Just wanted to share a few things about today's episode. Just as the first episode was, it's meant to be conversational, meaning it's not a presentation offering facts, statistics, and bid opportunities, but more of sharing insights and experiences. There'll be time to address audience questions after the conversation with our guest, but we do ask that the audience limits these questions to subject matter the entire group can benefit from, and maybe not too specific to your firm's individual needs. Please type your questions in the chat box and we will address them after the Webversation. So getting to the content today, I wanted to introduce our guest, David Rambhajan of Industria Construction Services. David is the president of Industria Construction Services, and his firm performs work as a prime contractor, subcontractor, professional services, construction management, subconsultant on the Illinois Tollway. He's signatory with and self-performs with laborers, painters, and electricians. He performs civil, commercial, and interior work. He has experience working for multiple government agencies, both federal and local. His firm is an 8A graduate, and he is DBE, MBE, and SDVOSB certified. David is a true small business expert and entrepreneur. He speaks around the country for the SBA and multiple veteran panels and organizations. He dedicates much of his time mentoring and influencing small business contractors with the many challenges they face in a volunteer capacity. David is also a provider in the Illinois Technical Assistance Program, where he offers much creative and entrepreneurial content and input to the team and its clients. To me personally, David is a mentor, colleague, supporter, and dear friend. He's candid, genuine, and always willing to offer an alternative perspective, solicited or unsolicited. He's one in a million, and his pursuit of seizing opportunities and making them his own is truly inspirational. And I've had the opportunity to see that quite a bit over the years. Which brings us to today's session, which is about making your own opportunity. David's approach to a bid opportunity or challenge is such that he never lets a perceived obstacle limit the way he responds to a situation. So David, I'm hoping today you can share some of your experience and how this approach has led to initial success and help you sustain and scale your business.
Thanks, Dana. Wow, look, you know, we got to work in here like a round of applause for that introduction. Thank you. That was great. That was great. I hear this introduction. I'm like, who is this guy? I want to meet him.
What a guy.
Yeah. No, thank you. Are you going to introduce yourself too? Or does everybody know?
I think Marisol introduced me, and
okay.
My name's Dana Harder of Industria Construction, and I'm lucky enough to represent the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in the Illinois Tollway's Technical Assistance Program, which helps small and diverse firms build capacity to work on the tollway system.
Yeah, and let me add to that for what I can. I've known you for a very long time, and I had the opportunity where we worked together, and I think forever you've helped companies to get organized and to understand how to direct their energies to bid opportunities and to different agencies. And the thing that I think we both realize is when people ask sometimes, hey, how should I do this? How should I do that? Or, will this work? It really depends on the agency. So I know you've really over the years been great at just understanding to put together these processes to make sure that when you do take a swing, that it goes, you can get a good hit. So, well, thanks for the introduction. And I think we got a small group, which is great. And what I want to say first is, I've had the business going on 28 years now, and I've been there at different pre-COVID, right? At different events and listening and trying to reach out and learn something. And I'll tell you what, today, the people who are online are lucky because what we're going to share with you today is the secret to success and 10 quick and easy steps and some secret algorithms and shortcuts that the wealthy and the successful don't want you to know, right? So these secrets today you will get. And I say that, of course, jokingly, because for years, that's what I was looking for, right? I'd attend these events to find out something where somebody of success can show me or share with me or invite me to their secret society. Let me be part of that circle, right? Born and raised in Chicago, I thought success was having things, right? Maybe I can get, how am I going to get things? But what I'll share through my experience is some pretty simple things, I think, that I've learned that have traditionally, through the test of time, worked, right? When I look back at many failures that I've had and many challenges I've encountered, what worked and what did some of my mentors share with me that I have found to be successful that's allowed me to scale the business, to leverage these small business programs, leverage the diversity programs to build a sustainable, to scale a sustainable business that is running and is profitable. And I say profitable because I've been there and I know a lot of companies that have revenues, but are they profitable where they're not only making money, but reinvesting into the company to solidify that foundation? And I think that's a challenge sometimes.
And David, I think where you're at is clear, but the path to get there, I mean, this didn't all happen overnight, right? Like this evolves with years of experience and lessons learned, seeing some of your own clients and mentors and agencies handle things, in different ways. And I'd really like to focus in on, you've always been such a proponent of, looking at the opportunity and not the challenge, and understanding like who's asking the question, who's the agency, what's the program, what's the intent of the contract, and can I deliver this, and what partners can I bring in what capacity?
Right. Which is a strategy. And what I learned and what I talk about sometimes is I was in the Marine Corps, and one of the things I talk about is being a sharpshooter. And when I say that, I mean focusing our energies on hitting a target we want to hit, really, and understanding using all our energy and resources and relationships and time and knowledge to put together a plan to really hit that target. And prior to really fully understanding that, or even fully putting that into place, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, I do real estate. I had the restaurant I shared about. I have several other businesses I've done. I've had so many interests. And so people will come sometimes and say, hey, David, what about you do real estate? Should I be doing this? Should I buy Bitcoin? Should I sell stuff on Amazon? What should I do? It depends on what your target is, right? It depends on what your goal is. And I understand financial is one of them, right? All of us want to have a good financial return, but I also talk about what's your lifestyle look like? How many hours do you want to put in? Do you have a family that you spend time with, right? So now you really know that, hey, this is where I want to be and how am I going to focus it? So when we look at these opportunities for the government, prior to really putting a ton of energy. I mean, sometimes municipal work at the airport or municipal work at Chicago Public Schools is not for you. It doesn't fit, right? So I'm not trying to make it fit. Well, but we can participate in the program, and we're trying to make it fit. It's more so now, hey, we have this company, we offer this value, and we're in the program to, how do we take these great value and this opportunity in the program and see if the client, the end user, can use what we're selling, and then putting that together.
Well, but making the plan and knowing your target, I mean, that has to change as the market changes, as the competition evolves and changes, as, you know, like, and I think that's, you know, what kind of advice or support would you give to somebody who has a really hard time changing it up when this was their plan and this was their target and this is everything that they've been working for? You know, we talked about this a little bit in our last episode, where everybody's kind of focused on getting a specific certification. I need to get my, you know, my City of Chicago MBE because I want to work for this agency. Come to find out, years after years and time and dollars spent, that the certifying agents, they don't accept the certifying agency with who you're certified for. So, you know, what kind of advice would you give to people who find themselves in that position?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think if you spend that energy up front on this plan, right, understanding your value that you're bringing or what product or service you want to bring, and then making sure that client purchases what you're selling, you know, and how they purchase it. Do they purchase it directly? Do they purchase it through a general contractor? I mean, a lot of us are in construction here. I'm looking at some of the people on the list, but, you know, a lot of us are in construction. How do they buy it? You know, and different agencies buy it in different ways. But most definitely at the end of the day, believe me, I've done it, and I think it's okay. It's a hard thing to do, especially as an entrepreneur, is to adjust your sales and say, you know what, I spent some energy and time there. I know now that this is the direction I should be going in, so I'm going to fine tune that. And if I look back at who I was as a business, oh, most definitely I changed it, and I focus now, and I know where I'm at, and we've hit that spot where it's all coming together and doing well. But yeah, I'd say it's okay to change. Now, I would say at the same time, it's not really great to be jumping lanes either, because when you're driving and you look on the side of the road, you're like, wow, they're making pretty good. Did you see how much money they're making over there? They do really well. There's a lot of work there. And then you take your hands off the wheel and go over here for a little bit, or try to do both, right? You're going to lose that what I call that sharpshooter energy, where you're directing at one target. Now you're spreading it a little bit. So I think that my biggest thing is take a second and stop, right? I sometimes share that my thought is that we're all living in this fictitious world of noise and information, especially nowadays. We're getting opinions, and even my opinion, right? This is all my opinion, but we're getting information from everywhere. And sometimes we take that information, we go with it. To really just listen, take in a bunch of information, think about yourself, your long-term goals, your targets financially and personally, and your lifestyle, everything you want to do, and see what does that look like, and then pull back from that and make that plan, right? Hey, I've heard it before. Literally, I've had a small contractor that really is trying to leverage the diversity program, and they're looking at all municipal. They're looking at all these municipal programs, but they'd have to join the union for a lot of stuff they're looking at. And it's a big move to join the union,
right?
To really be able to support that initiative, cash flow wise, right? When you're growing. And when we talked about that target, I'm going to pick a number. The target was 10 million. 10 million would be a great revenue to have for our business. It really give us a great bottom line for us, for our employees and their families. It's a great book of business. I said, there's 10 million all over the state, all over the country. I mean, there's 10 million everywhere. You don't have to live in this area when you're really focusing on what you want to do. So the bigger thing to me is find those clients, find out where you got to be. Yes, definitely leverage. We leveraged programs, Industria. Today, 85%, when we last checked, 85% of our work is small business work. So we still use the M a little bit, maybe the veteran a little bit, get in the
Mhm.
door or to participate in a program, but the rest of it is just small business work.
Mhm. And just planning and diversifying in a risk averse way and strategically, right? You know, like not worried about what the guy on the other side of the road is doing, but you know, what do you have the capacity for?
Yeah,
I think one of the ways like small and diverse firms can really empower themselves, a way they can really empower themselves first is by utilizing all of the resources, such as, you know, the 3 programs that support even this chat today, you know, providing technical assistance services in all kinds of different capacity building, traditionally industry specific. And that's something that wasn't around 20 years ago. So I think it has a huge impact, and it'll help navigate you and help guide you to, you know, who are the owners who have the work that fits your bill, or wherever you want to be 18 months from now or 5 years from now. What is that agency's look ahead plan look like? You know, say you are going to become signatory with the union and it's a huge step. Are you exposed in other areas of labor and, you know, some of the other things that you do or the private type of clients that you have? Is this sustainable for you long term, or were you just looking at this immediate target of this, you know, $1 million opportunity that you wanted to go after?
right.
So there's a lot to consider there.
Yeah, is it sustainable, right? Is it
Mhm.
sustainable? That's a great point. And I've seen it. You see, as entrepreneurs, I think our confidence can cloud our judgment, right? So we get excited. We know what we're doing. Thanks for your comments. And I've heard, oh no, I talked to the union guy. He said it's not a problem that I'm doing my residential stuff. He's not going to go after that. He isn't. He
He's
told you
one
that.
guy. That's one
Yeah,
person.
he told you that. I've personally seen friends go out of business who didn't fully understand their requirements under the union.
Mhm.
You know,
Well,
it happens.
that's a really important point too, like understanding your exposure, not just right now, but long term, and not what somebody's telling you. Like, we have access, and the best way you can empower yourself, I think, is to get access to where the book is. What does the spec say? What does the program say? What does the agency say? What does the union bylaws say? Like, don't ever, you know, depend on what somebody else told you, regardless of how seasoned or qualified they are. You know, make your own opportunity.
I have great mentors at large companies who've afforded their time to me with any questions. And they will tell me certain things that I don't agree with. But they meant it and they mean well. It fits for them. They're a $1
Mhm.
billion company. You know, I'm
Mhm.
not. One
Right.
size does not fit all. And so I think I love what you said, because what you're saying is, yeah, it's okay. Let's hear feedback from people who've been there. Talk to some other people. What was their experience, or did they look into it? Get some feedback, but also look at the union rules, try and find it, and get the best answers. Another thing too is, early on, I attended every event I could. And early on, I was certified by every agency. And I thought, I'm out there and I'm certified, and I went to every event, but I'm not growing. I'm putting too
Yeah.
much time into it. So I was putting so much time into certification and else. Really, you have to manage the amount of time that you put before you pull that trigger on that decision for what you're going to do and which direction you're going to go. But sufficient time should be given, not zero time, right?
Right.
Meaning that, hey, Dana, do you know any plumbers who've joined the union? And then find out, or talk to another unit, say, I'm going to give myself a week. I'm going to ask 10, 15 people, get some feedback, look at that information, and then I'm going to make the decision, right?
Right.
Especially with something like that, by the way. I mean, we make decisions every day, some of which aren't, we can get out of. But I'll tell you, one thing you can't get out of is a union agreement. That's very hard to get out of that. So it is a big decision on that particular item.
It's true, but that translates to so many other areas too. You know, during our last talk, we talked about, commercial useful function, or about questionable, unethical practices. You know, when people are, they're not strong arming you, but, they're unintentionally pointing you in a direction where you could be construed as not having a commercial useful function, as a participant on the project. And, you know, like, you really need to understand what that is, not what somebody tells you. Or, you know, for instance, like a lot of times we have people who in our program who don't understand necessarily who all the agencies accept based off of like who their certifying agencies are for their DBE or MBE or veteran certifications. And so they'll approach the primes, hey, I want to work with you. And they say, oh, you know, you can't work on the tollway or city of Chicago. Well, the city of Chicago accepts that. Like, you can go find that. You have to be the one that has that knowledge and can say, you know what, I respect what you're saying, but I'm actually going to send you the link to the part on the website where you can see who accepts what, so that you can see that my certification is valid. Like, don't just take everybody's word for it that things are going to work out, that signing with the union's a good idea, that you know, that your certification isn't acceptable. I think that's another way that people really need to approach those types of conversations.
Yeah, we're not union bashing, by the way. All right. So
no,
any of the union stewards, don't go put a rat up on my job. You know, put a big rat up on my job. We heard your talk, Mr. Man. But it's like you said, it's a matter of a point relative to making choices that dig in. And you know, I don't know. I'm going to say this to everybody. I've been there, right, at all different levels, and I'm blessed to have been, and that's why I like to make time to pay it forward, because, you know, share what you learned and see if it can help other people. If you would have asked me 20 years if I have what I have today with the company and the depth, I mean, you know, we're doing a $12 million design build in Minneapolis. We're doing a $9 million in Marion. You know, we do work in Florida. I wouldn't have thought that. No, I'm not going there, right? But as I approached in the manner that we're discussing, managing risk, right? Maximizing strategic use of my resources while looking at my target, right? My own philosophy of how I do it. And then having this clarity with this plan and committing to it and adjusting my sales, you know, looking back each week and saying, hey, how am I doing? Is this right? Consulting advisors, mentors, listening as much as I feel I'm fairly confident what I do. I love this, especially, you know, the questions that'll come up. I'm going to continue to learn, right? So you don't stop. One thing I'll share that you said is, and it relates to what you said, is to do the research, right? Well, you'll hear all things about everything. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. You can do this. You can't do that. You know, and I say that about stuff like food, what's healthy and what's not. I'm sticking with red wine and dark chocolate myself. One day it's good, the next day it's bad. I'm going to pick what I like, right? But I'll tell you that I've heard things, and then when I did the research, no, you can do that. In fact, I've done it at a level, and on the federal side, what I tell people, I said, read the FAR, understand it for what you do. It's going to help you with the contracting officer. They can't learn all the rules, but when I tell them, well, it's our understanding according to the FAR that the regulations allow a reasonable overhead markup of this percentage, they have nowhere to go, right? So understanding the municipal codes for organizations or municipalities and interpreting them as best you can will help you as you push forward. Yeah,
I mean, and even just, you know, on a smaller scale, I mean, even just the plans and specifications of your own contract, you know, when you have design discrepancies, just knowing, you know, what is the order of precedence. I have a couple of calls like that a week, you know, like it conflicts here and here and here. Well, go to, you know, page 1 of the proposal and it'll show you what the order of precedence is, you know, because people are learning the same, they get caught up in the minutiae, the details, and people are learning the same lessons over and over again. But yeah, I think you're your own best advocate when you know how to, you know, not just in a prime capacity, but in a subcontractor capacity or a second tier subcontractor capacity, just understanding the opportunity, the prime as your customer, you know, the agency as a client. It can only lead to success.
Yeah, one other thing I think about overall, right? There's you know, I see some of the contractors online and some of the different companies. One other thing is be careful with revenues versus profitable revenues, right? I mean, it's such a neat thing to land $1 million job or a big project size for what you do. But at the end of the day, you know, profitability and risk are two big things. And, you know, when you're smaller, right, you're going to take what you can get. I've been there. And it's like, hey, I'm going to get what I got to take what I can get to keep going. And, keep the bills paid and keep the cash flow going. But the goal is to develop it to a point where it's profitable revenues with retained earnings for fueling the business and for what you do. This is why you're doing all this work, right? To hit some of your targets. And I think sometimes you get caught in, I just got to keep going and this is the way it is. And it's not. The truth is that I'll hear things and I often believe them sometimes, like, well, it's too late, right? It's too late to buy Bitcoin. It's too late to buy, you know, Amazon. It's too late to buy Apple. And, you know, oh man, I missed the boat. For businesses, the market's available for us to achieve as small businesses the revenues to live a good life. It really is, right? I mean, you know, let's say your target's $500,000 or whatever it is. It's very possible, and in our market, it's there. Because sometimes I'll hear, oh, well, I heard there's a lot of work at this area. There's a lot of work. Hey, have you gotten work at the airport? There's $1 billion there. Did you get work on the, there's a project across from Soldier Field. It's a big project they're doing. Another $1 billion, Lincoln Yards, billions. Are you on the Obama Library? Which is cool. Who doesn't want to be on the Obama Library, right? That's cool.
Right.
But what I'll do is I'll supply lunch there one day and then tell my kids I was involved in that. Right? That's how you get your name on it.
That's creative in itself.
Right. Just to get your name on it. But yeah, you know, one of the things that I talk about, again, I mentioned a little bit, is my philosophy that the foundation now where I start off with is very simple and very basic. And some people are like, yeah, whatever. I don't mind. I really don't mind any criticism and I don't mind any feedback. But I just stop and say, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? What's the end game? What are you going to be excited about in 3 to 5 years? What are you going to say? I hit my target. And it's easy to say this, but I know it's hard to not worry about what other people are thinking and not worry about, you know, keeping up with the Joneses and all that other stuff. I apologize if anybody's the Joneses here. They're like, why are you bringing up the Joneses? But, you know, what is that target, right? What do you want? Hey, I'd love if my lifestyle was like this and I was able to do this in the morning, spend time on the evenings doing this with family. I also have a hobby and then I run my business and I still hit my financial targets, right? Now, what are the resources you have, right? What is the time, energy, skill, money, relationships? And the strategic sharpshooter, to me, allocates those resources while managing risk to hit those targets. And until I'm proven wrong, that's the secret. That's the secret, is looking at that target, looking at your resources, putting that plan together. By the way, I will tell you, it's one of the hardest things to do. And if I had to do it again, I left myself a note for when I'm reincarnated: buy a franchise, right? Buy a company, buy somebody that's put it together. To start from scratch, to put together HR, to put together marketing processes, put together accounting and systems and routines to deliver your product or service. That's hard. That's why you pay a franchise. You know, things are in place. So I do add to that it's one of the most difficult things to do.
Well, one of the things that we haven't mentioned that's a big component of that, I would think, is the vendors and the professional service vendors that you surround yourself with too, right? Like, you know, the right risk management assessment, the right brokers, the right attorneys, the right, you know, just the right bonding agent and, you know, accountant, how all those work in tandem. I mean, that helps you make better informed decisions, and it's more comprehensive and I think straightforward for you to be able to, you know, stay focused on what your target is. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, you have to have the right advisors, right? Because there are things I'm not good at. There are things I don't know. But as you're growing, you have to handle all of them. The other thing is, how do you do it on a shoestring, right? We talked about that in some of our talks under Deconstructed, which some of those videos are up on the Hispanic Chamber's YouTube channel. You can see some of those. But what we talked about is, well, yeah, that sounds great, Dave. You got your company, you got money to hire the people. How did you scale? How did you get there? And really, you have to get creative. And I know my insurance agent says, well, you need this and you need that. Well, I'm not buying that. I can't afford it right now. So I'm going to take that risk and I'm going to hedge it. Right? They mean well. Oh, well, you should have this and too, and you should have cybersecurity, and you should have this. I can't afford it right now. I'm going to do this. Yeah, at some day I'll need it. The tough thing is, as you grow and you make a little money, okay, cybersecurity, more insurance. We're like, wait a second, I'm making the same amount I made before. But yeah, you have to do things on a shoestring, get creative. I like this. I like asking other businesses, hey, Dave, how'd you do your 401k eventually? Because we couldn't afford that. I thought I couldn't afford one. And I figured out a simple way that I share with people. Anybody can afford one, right? So there are different things you can learn. And I think this platform offered by the chamber is one of those things where you can come together. And for this next part, I know we're going to answer questions and everything else. And that's where we share information, where people will say, hey, what about this? What about that? Post-COVID here, you know, hopefully you get together with groups of people. I encourage that too. Get together with groups and meet with them and get social and develop relationships and throw challenges out there so that you could share information with other entrepreneurs who are truly facing the same thing. I mean, it's crazy that we're all entrepreneurs, but we're in this silo and we're looking over there. They got to go 401k. They got a great healthcare program. They have a great marketing, but nobody's really sharing. Like, I have this, it worked for me. You could take a look at it, see what you think.
Right. Well, that's definitely one of many benefits of, you know, what the collaboration offers too, and talking about, you know, not just the traditional capacity building things, you know, but other things that you can look at, other ways you can make yourself vulnerable with people, you know, when you're opening up to new relationships, partners, mentors. I do think, I'm glad you mentioned, I think it's time that we do start opening things up to questions. We do have a couple questions in the chat box that I'll share with you, David.
Yeah, and let me say this real quick. Everybody's here. This is a small group, okay? We don't have to mention any names. I mean, similar people see the questions. I'm telling you, I made the mistake of not asking a question I wanted to ask, okay? Of course, we wanted to apply in general, as Dana said, to all businesses, but please take the time to ask something because a lot of people are wanting to know the same things, right? So you have us here to give a perspective and feedback. So please feel free to throw your questions in.
The first question, David, is for you. Did you have a mentor when you first started out? And what was it that he or she taught you?
Yeah. So, you know, I did. I would say that I had a mentor and it was great. That mentor was a large business. And what I'd say sometimes is it's good to have multiple, call it whatever you want, right? Call it an advisor, call it a mentor, call it a friend, call it an associate, call it whatever you want. But to be able to have people that you can bounce ideas off of is worth it. And I'm very busy. I do dedicate my time to also help small business. So I'll work that in. But, you know, if you got to call someone, like here's an example. Oh, I can't do an advisory group. Who's going to be an advisory group? Check with your attorney or an attorney that you know, like check with an accountant that you work with, check with some people who you respect their opinion and say, hey, you know, as I grow my business, I want to really just kind of get feedback from people whose opinion I respect. And you're one of those people. I wonder if you consider being on a little bit of an informal advisory group that I'm putting together, meeting once a quarter, or you do once a month or every other month. And very simply, I would, if you're open to it, I would offer to buy lunch and bring it together, share with you my perspective within 1 hour of your time during lunch, and just let you say what you think. Most people will come, have the lunch, and give you their 2 cents, right? So that's one little thing. Before I forget, I'm going to share with you one big thing that my mentor said to me. My mentor at the time was a very large business, very large, and he started from zero, leveraged the minority business programs, grew his company, and just did very, very well, okay? And so I said to him, sir, could you please share with me something as I continue to grow my business that I should be thinking about, or any feedback you have relative to your journey? And I promise you, I was kind of hoping he was going to give me some secret algorithm, or he's going to tell me, okay, here it is. I usually don't show this, but this is something special. He said to me something very simple that I kind of include in my discussions. And that is, he said, you know, you have what you do every week. He says, but I tell you, stop on Sunday and take a little time for yourself at a time where you could just be alone and have a little silence, a little quiet time. and reflect back on your week and ask yourself, are you proud of that week? Could you do better? What could you change, right? So many times we're on that hamster wheel and we're going. And I can appreciate the energy. You know, I was in the Marine Corps and I'll go and no one's going to stop me, right? We're motivated. I'm going to go. And I realize going is great, but if I'm pressing the gas and I'm just going and going, when I look up, am I going in a circle? You know? So I put a lot of energy out, but I had no direction. I didn't go any distance. And so that's what I think that advice was great. So I'm going to, you know, I keep talking for an hour. Let me just make sure I answer the question. So yes, I had the mentor. That's what he's like. All right.
I'll keep you in check. You're good.
Yeah, and I did. And I think that whether it's mentors or advisors or relationships or associates, really find and seek out people who at a whim you could send an email to or ask a question to, and you can respect their opinion, get maybe 5 different answers, but then use that information to make your best decision.
And I'm sure that's worked for you in many instances, and then also just allows, even if it's not something that you're going to act on, it just allows for more perspective. And you can always learn from that. Yeah,
and again, believe me, I will say things that maybe don't fit with you, right? People will say things that maybe you don't agree with. People will say things that you're like, yeah, no, I know that, whatever, right? That's fine.
Right.
What you're looking for, the 1 or 2 things that you're like, wait a second, you could do that, or I didn't think about that, right? So that's why I think it's important to have those options available.
Well, and to have an open mind too.
Yeah,
and not just dismiss what doesn't sound like something that you would be comfortable with. One of the next questions is, what are your thoughts on the infrastructure bill being discussed in Congress right now and the anticipated opportunities for the DBEs?
Yeah, well, you know, I think that 2 things. One, that means a lot of opportunity. It really does. But don't go say, what are they going to buy and what business can I start? I mean, unless you're starting off fresh, you know, you're starting off fresh, you're going to find a nice sweet spot. Don't change to get to that money. That's my opinion. The reason is because whether that bill comes out or not, there's enough work for you in the market. You see, if you're a small business and if you desire to be a small business, we are a general contractor. We desire to be a small business, and I don't really need to, for me, be $100 million business. You know, if I could do 40 million a year in my business, I'm a small business still. I still get the opportunities, and I'll tell you something, I could live a good life. And at 40 million, my employees will all enjoy what we do, and their families will do well, and my kids will do well, and their kids will do well at that amount. I don't know what your target is, but that would be good. 40 million. I get 40 million in Illinois. I get 40 million in Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana. I can get 40, you can, the work is here, right? Said, yeah, but there's a lot of competition. Okay, well, let's take a look at the market. Let's find out where we have an edge, because we don't bid on a lot of projects. We watch what we bid on. So for your product or service, how is the infrastructure bill going to bring opportunities that have good margin, right? Where is that work? So I'm just cautious to say that, you know, these bigger projects are where all the opportunities are. No, the opportunities are out there, because here's an example. I know someone who grew, they're doing 100 million versus ours, right? So they're doing double what we're doing. And I believe that their profits are about the same as mine. Do you want to do 100 million at 10%? I mean, 100 million at 5% or 50 million at 10%?
With double the risk.
Right. So,
and exposure in the field.
Yeah. So don't lose perspective of that end goal. And I say that realizing that when I was growing the business, you know, I didn't have that focus, and I was just like, I gotta grow, and I gotta keep going, and I got so many things to do, and I can't even be on this call any longer. You know, so I understand that, but I do want to share it from that perspective. Yeah.
Let's go through the next question. Is there a standard percentage markup in construction when we bid on a project? It seems primes are always looking for the lowest price from their subcontractors. And I'll offer a little bit on that too. I think I don't think that there's a standard percentage markup or profitability. I think it all depends on what you offer and what your competitors offer, what the market is, you know, utilizing things like historical bid units and just really understanding what's offered. And if you have, you know, additional value that's offered, if you're, you know, are you traditionally, do you charge more than what your competition does? Is there a value add there that people aren't seeing? That's a really difficult thing to determine, but I think knowing your competition well and knowing how you compare kind of apples to apples to people when you're competing against another subcontractor, when you're talking to the primes, that could be really helpful.
Yeah, you know, okay, so let's look at this. There is a standard percentage markup. I think that, you know, certain clients allow certain markups, right? And there is a certain term of, you know, reasonable overhead and profit in construction. But what you got to realize is this, that is true. But my painter, he can make 40%. You know why? Because of his production. His production. So we got to keep in mind production. What the reality is, there is, in the whole market, regardless of construction, there is a leveling off of pricing for competition. So numbers are going to come in and the GCs want the lowest price. I'm a GC, by the way. I do want the lowest price. But I'm balancing. If we understand what the GC is thinking, we can go about our proposals a little bit different. It's very strategic and it's not 100%, but it moves the needle. Hey, Dave, I know we're coming in and let us know how our pricing is. Here's our bid. By the way, please understand that this scope of work includes this and this. I have exactly what's there. Make sure your other subs included that when you're looking at our numbers. Also, by the way, we can offer you a bid incentive because we're veteran owned. That's 1% or 0.5%. Whoa, I just came to them with 3 things now. Hey, by the way, check this. So I'm offering additional value. Whether I get it or not, I'm letting them know, watch out for the scope. So that's the first thing in the markup. The other thing is be careful getting caught up in being the lowest price. I know, I agree with you. Well, how the hell am I going to get work if I'm not the lowest price? You don't want to grow a business to be a business that survives on low prices.
Right. You're setting a precedent that's unsustainable.
Yeah, yeah. And so we buy, as a general contractor, we do the lowest, most competitive bid of the full scope. And by the way,
with the value
and meeting my goals. Hey, wait a second. I heard the other day, this guy lost a job to a diverse firm. So he's non-diverse. He lost a job to a non-diverse firm and the GC paid 10% more, 10% more for the diverse firm. Now, again, you don't want to grow business based on just your diversity. It has to be value based. Now, hey, if that gets you in the door to show value and develop a relationship, that's great. But what happened is there might be a strategy. Hey, the GC has to meet a 3% veteran. And if it's a road work, at 3% veteran, I'm not going to buy the asphalt from the veteran because my minority is a higher percentage.
Right.
Well, I'm thinking, what can I come to this? How about the striping? The striping is a small percentage of the whole roadway. They're more apt to say, with one swing, I can meet my veteran. I don't want to have 2 or 3 people meeting these. So if you understand the thought process behind the GC, you can kind of come to the GC or your client with a creative way of looking at it.
Thank you, David and Dana, for sharing some of your insights and for being with us today for the Webversation. Thank you once again, Dana Harder, for moderating this Webversation episode 2 of our Procurement Talk, Create Your Own Opportunity. And I also want to thank David Rambhajan from Industria Construction Services for sharing your wealth of knowledge. I have shared this screen with you guys. If you would like to connect, learn more information, or have additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and have a great day.